Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod, episode number 21. I am Kayvon and Shawn. That is Shawn White. As always, we are here live Monday, the NFL recap, the Money Down Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod, at Kayvon_sports, at Shawn White. Shawn, week 14 is almost in the books. This Cardinals-Rams game is at halftime right now, so we're one half away from this week 14 wrapping up and in the books, and we have a lot to talk about. But first of all, and always important, how are you doing, my man?
Doing well. Another weekend of football. We're getting close to the holidays. Everything's going pretty well and everything. I mean, except for out in Jags land. We'll get to that at some point. Yeah. That's a dumpster fire, like my Twitter name says. So that'll be fun to talk about here soon.
Yeah, no, I actually think it's interesting, man. When you have issues that happen within organizations like this, people want to know what's going on and why it's happening. So I think it's honestly a good thing that we have a fan here to dial that in. I think the people that have been following us throughout the beginning, they're interested to hear your thoughts on it. I'm going to tell my thoughts on it. So we'll get into that, but we've got a lot to get into. That Brady Bucks Bills matchup. We're going to talk about Herbert and just how good he looked yesterday. The Chiefs, are they the best team in the league? And then, of course, the Jags and some NFC talk as well. But let's start off with a really important game yesterday in the Bengals and the 49ers, Shawn. This was huge for both sides. I mean, really, really big game in terms of playoffs, in terms of seeding, all of that stuff. Now, in my opinion, this game was bigger for the 49ers than it was for the Bengals, and this is why. You could make the same argument for the 49ers, but the reason I say this is the AFC North is a shit show right now. The Bengals can still win it. The 49ers cannot win their division. They can only make the playoffs at this point by wild card. They had to win this game. And even though it's so stacked up with the NFC, and even if they lost, they wouldn't have been out or anything like that. But I think because the Bengals still have so much room in the division, Lamar, he's injured. I mean, the Ravens are just devastated. Who trusts the Browns? The Steelers, Big Ben looks great one week. The defense looks terrible. Big Ben looks awful. The defense looks great. There's such a mix in these teams in the AFC. I thought it was more important for the 49ers. That's why I bet on the 49ers, one of our picks for the show there. And they ended up coming through. They almost blew it. 20-6 with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They almost blew it. Burrow went on a good comeback, but the 49ers held in tight. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, that's a game that a lot of people probably didn't see. We had a stacked slate kind of with the afternoon games.
It was crazy.
So, yeah, that was actually a good game. It was one I was looking forward to watching because the 49ers have a lot of talent, but the Bengals sneaky have a ton of talent as well, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Yes. So I really wanted to see how that went. The Bengals kind of no-showed until the fourth quarter, and then Burrow tried to put the cape on, and the skill position guys started to get free and loose. But that was a big game for the Niners, like you said. The Niners needed to win that to stay, keep pace with this wild card. It's a frantic NFC. It's going to come down to the last week for maybe two of these spots, possibly. I mean, that's kind of how it's going to go. Yep. Especially if the Rams were to win tonight. They're, like I said, they're tied right now as we're recording. Yep. So that was a big win for the Niners. It was a good game by them as well. Jimmy G brought them down and hit the walk-off and everything. Jimmy G still worries me a little bit, though. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they're like Super Bowl contenders, even though if we're putting talent at certain positions, the Niners have like about 6 elite players that anyone would want to have between Kittle, Debo, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams. I mean, they got talent. That's going to all come down to that Trey Lance thing for them to win Super Bowls again. But how they're feeling right now, they got to feel pretty good winning that game. On the flip side with the Bengals, and I'll pose this to you afterwards, I actually think they might have a top 3 receiving core in the league, and they're young. Like, it's a young receiving core. So I think they're probably set for the future. They're probably a year ahead on this rebuild. They're showing exactly what you want. I think it's time for the Bengals to kind of look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, let's go get some free agents this year as much as we can and let's hit some draft picks, and let's go for it these next 2 years with Burrow on a rookie deal. Because what they showed me yesterday with the fight, I know Burrow's throwing a lot of picks this year, but he can calm that down. He's playing a little bit of hero ball. I think they have a solid squad, and maybe we have about the best skill group you can ask for overall in the league, especially if you're going just by youngness of the skill position people.
Phenomenal point. Really, really interesting point. First of all, you're spot on. The receivers, I mean, T. Higgins, man, and I know where Jamar Chase gets like the highlights and all that stuff because he has all these deep passes and the connection. But some of the catches that T. Higgins makes, bro, that dude has solid hands. He has strong hands. And you forget about guys like Tyler Boyd, who's really, I mean, Tyler Boyd could be a number 2 on a lot of teams, right? Like, I mean, he's a decent receiver. And the fact that he's the number 3, their receiving core is phenomenal. You know what the Bengals remind me of, man? They remind me of the Cardinals in the early stages. The Cardinals were willing to go all in. They did that this year. The Bengals are showing even more improvement than the Cardinals last year. The Cardinals showed improvement, then they falled off. Then the Bengals are showing even more improvement to me. They have all the pieces, but now they just need to add the extra ones that can. And if they do it like the Cardinals did it and they go all in and get some big names, while Joe Burrow, just like Kyler, they could really make some noise, dude. I like the point, and I think that Bengals fans, it's kind of hard in the here and now. You're like, screw that. We want to make the playoffs. We're good enough right now. And of course you want to do that. But if you're a Bengals fan and you're a realist and you understand how this works, you should be very happy because the future is so bright for you. They even have some players on that D line that's not bad, man, like that can wreak some havoc. They just got to add some more pieces, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Hendrickson, they stole him from New Orleans, essentially. I mean, if everyone's going back, man, in time, he'd make a lot more money in the offseason. Yeah. He'd have got paid a ton more. I think he's like 16 mil guaranteed, something like that. Maybe something, if that. I think everybody thought that was like a product of like Cam Jordan and Davenport and the New Orleans defense and didn't really trust him. But he's kind of showed out like, hey, I can pass rush. I'm the pass rusher. So I do think they need to go in on some defensive stuff, which actually brought me to a good point now that I'm thinking about it, that you were talking about. That's kind of how team building's going nowadays.
Yeah.
Really what it is. You get your quarterback in that first year or so, and unless you already have like super, super good wide receivers like a Justin Herbert did coming in, what you do is that year 2, you make sure you get them a true number 1 and really some solid number 2 pieces around them so they can grow as an offense. And then that year 3, you supplement the defense and the O-line if you need to for free agency, and you're ready to roll because it's 3 and 4 that you're supposed to be contending before they get paid. That's really how stuff's going. The Cardinals do it that way. The Chiefs obviously had the best blueprint of it all because Mahomes came in and played the way Mahomes played. But that's kind of the setup now. Used to it was all, okay, you get your quarterback, then you want to protect them a little bit, get some pass rushers. It's all about receiver play now with how open the game is. So really you want to get that quarterback first. Make sure if you don't have those receivers already there, you make sure you go in, you get that true number 1, you get that number 2 to go with it, and then worry about more so protecting them afterwards because these guys move so good now, unless you have like a Matt Jones, of course. So that's an interesting point you're making, like showing about the Cardinals like that, because I could see that. The Bengals have some interesting pieces on defense. They're just not good enough at this point right now. Yeah. They need maybe one more pass rusher, a corner, maybe a linebacker, and they'll be straight away, man. Like they'll be good to go. So I do like the Bengals as an up-and-coming team. We talked about the whole Burrow and Herbert thing last week, and I think Burrow is right on track, man, in this rebuild. But that guy, Justin Herbert, the way he was playing yesterday, I think we could probably move on to him a little bit.
Yeah. That
throw he made yesterday was insane.
I do want to move. I do just want to ask you one more question. Because you're right. They are in a great position for the future. But just looking at the present, man, if you look like, and I'm sorry, Cleveland fans, but you look at Cleveland, the 2 teams in Ohio right now. Who do you have more faith in?
The Bengals.
The Bengals, right? Okay, like so moving forward, you have, even right now and moving forward, you would say you have more faith in the Bengals, correct?
Because of Joe Burrow, yeah. I mean, I trust Stefanski over Zach Taylor. I actually trust the front office a little bit over the Bengals front office in the Browns. It's all Baker versus Burrow.
Exactly. And that's why the quarterback's so important. Right now with the Ravens and all of the Ravens, every year this happens to one team, bro. It's the Ravens this year. The Ravens, they might not even have enough players to play, bro. And they still find ways to almost win games. I really thought they were going to win that game yesterday. I mean, that was just insane. They still almost, which was a terrible beat, by the way, for you. You had that locked up, and then that happened. I was like, this would freaking happen. But because of that, because of the Steelers and where they're at, the AFC North, man, is just wide the hell open. Right now it's flip a coin to me. I mean, I would say Ravens if I knew Lamar was going to be healthy, but I don't know he's going to be healthy. So because of that, man, you win 2 games down the stretch here, you might be able to win the division with 9 games, 10 games. I know the Ravens have 8, but who knows how many more they can win. That's the one thing I want to say. And then another thing I want to say here, is George Kittle the best tight end in the league right now?
Oh, let me think about that.
Dude, he is.
Yeah,
he is making some plays that he kind of fell off the last couple years because of injuries. But, dude, these last couple games, man, that guy's making some catches and some plays, and he's more of a Gronk type where he can block, too. He's not a liability blocking kind of like Kelsey is. I think he might be the best tight end in the league right now because Kelsey's having a down year.
Well, I think what they did is they used to would get him hurt all the time because they throw him the Gronk type routes all the time where he's just getting, and I mean Kittle's personality is to go run you over, so he's just in like car crash after car crash almost. Kind of what they did these last 2 weeks where he's putting up these massive receiving yards. They've kind of done the whole Travis Kelce Waller thing and spaced him, and that's kind of been the thing.
Which is smart.
Yeah, it's smart by Shanahan to do. Number one, it keeps him healthier. Number two, obviously, he's like a big weapon. Like he goes vertical down the field now.
He does,
and that's probably the key there. So yeah, the way that whole offense runs is Juszczyk and him are basically like having 2 extra blockers that can also receive. That's when the 49ers hit all cylinders. That's another reason why I kind of just wanted to see Trey Lance out there instead of Jimmy Garoppolo, because you've got Debo on sweeps along with Elijah Mitchell with these 2 blockers out there, and then you throw in the threat of a Trey Lance running. That offense is so tough to defend. I know we're talking about a lot of future stuff, but that's kind of why I wanted to see him over Jimmy G. I agree with you, though. I'll give Kittle the best tight end. I don't think that's hyperbolic at all because Kelsey has had a down year by his standards for sure. And Waller is just – Waller's that receiving guy, but he's been a little banged up injured this year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it is. I would like to watch out for your guy Pitts coming up, though. I think Pitts is going to be that hybrid type tight end receiver, like that Tony Gonzalez type that you're going to see kind of come out there. But for now, I'm going to go with Kittle, like you were talking about. He's probably the best tight end in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, he and I cannot wait to see Pitts grow more. But Kittle made some catches down the stretch in this game that just was it was high point wide receiver type catches that you don't see a lot of tight ends make. So that was impressive. But
yeah, I mean, last week he ran Debo Samuel's position when he was out. I mean, it's crazy.
Which is crazy for how big he is. But back to that great transition that you just had there that I had to cut off. Herbert was the talk of the day other than really the Chiefs I understand they were playing a Giants team, but with the throw he made, with the way he looks, this Chargers team, Shawn, still gives me pause because talk about, I called Jimmy G Jekyll and Hyde. This team, the Chargers team is Jekyll and Hyde. And it's not because of Herbert. It's just because of the way the team is. The team is just really good one week, really bad one week. It varies. But yesterday, they put together, and we said it on this show last week when they beat the Bengals. The first thing we said was, good job. Let us see consecutive weeks. You're supposed to win this game. You said you wanted to see how he looked without Keenan Allen. He answered both of our questions. I said I wanted to see them put together 2 good weeks in a row, and he looked good without Keenan Allen. Your thoughts on Herbert and that throw and everything he did yesterday?
Yeah, Herbert's playing himself into easily a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion. And I've been more, I wouldn't say skeptical. I've been more pausing on anointing him, I guess, because like I said, he came into a situation where the Chargers weren't your just like average picking in the top 7 team. Like they were way more talented than that. They're just the Chargers, man. They find ways to lose. It was just weird. It was a weird year because I got to give credit to Tom Telesco. That man can draft. Like
yes, he can. Yes,
he can draft with the best of them. I mean, maybe if we're being honest, think about it. Him and Jason Light and maybe Mickey Loomis. Even though I kind of like to credit Ireland a little more down there with the Saints. If you try to get into it. Those three have such a knack of finding people first through fifth round where they just come up with all pros and pro bowlers like it's nothing. They're just so talented. And when Herbert fell to them, it was just like a perfect storm. They already had such good skill position players. Their O-line was weak. What does Telesco do? He goes and gets the best center on the market. He gets Rashawn Slater at the left tackle, shores it up right up. Now Herbert's just out there. He's just throwing it around like it's nothing. Makes everything look easy. Diagnoses the defense. Sits back there. Makes his easy throws. Makes his hard throws look easy. He's playing on a different level right now, and I've got to give him props on that for sure. That throw he made, I was talking to you about it before. Yep. I was actually at a Christmas party when it happened, and I saw it on Twitter. And at first I was like, why are people going on and on and on about this? Because all I really saw was the ball launch in the air and like Guyton catch it. I was like, that's like a standard like Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. Like I know it's like impressive, but it's a standard throw. Then I rewatched it later on. And I was like, oh, okay, no. He rolled out to the right, stopped on a dime, flicked his wrist with his feet set, looked like he was throwing like an out route, threw it all the way down with Guyton streaking, hit him in the hands in stride, and did this all with a defender on him, and he's throwing across the field and down the field 65 yards. I was like, oh, okay, that's why everybody's freaking out about it. So I looked dumb for a second, but I regained. So, yeah, Herbert's on a different level right now.
It was insane, man. It was nuts. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And the way it stayed in the air it felt like it was in the air forever. But then it came down perfectly into Guyton's hands. It was an awesome throw. Herbert is a top 5, or he's on his way to being a top 5 quarterback in the league. I would not debate you on that one bit. But I do want to point out what you said. It just does wonders for you if you can go to a team like that, man. Like, I don't care how good you are, bro. The NFL is so hard. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence right now, bro. I truly did not see one single analyst that is good at their job, that has been on TV making great picks over and over, say that Herbert should not be the number 1 overall pick because he was that good. And he's struggling right now because the Jaguars are a bad football team, dude. You guys are a terrible football team. Tom Brady would suck in that atmosphere. Joe Montana, name the quarterback. They're going to be bad on that team. It's not a hot take. It is literally true. When you get the luxury of a Mahomes going to an Andy Reid and a Chiefs team with Kelsey and these guys, a Herbert going to a team with Mike Williams and a defensive line like that, and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, someone to dump it off to, it changes your career path so much, man. I mean, it's really remarkable what it can do for one's career. Now, I think Herbert's so talented, it would have worked out no matter what. Just like I think Lawrence is so talented that it's going to work out no matter what. It's just going to take a lot more time for Lawrence to get to where he needs to be than it did for Herbert, because Herbert got in a better situation. Like, if the Dolphins drafted Tua, if the Chargers drafted Tua, are the Chargers good?
Oh yeah, they'd be solid. They wouldn't be as good as they are, but they'd be good.
They'd be solid though. They would be in the hunt still because of how much talent they had. That's just my whole point. Herbert's way better than Tua. I'm not comparing that. Tua's just all about the dump offs and all that stuff. Herbert can do much more in that category. But my whole point is, it's just the NFL, man. It's wild. It's really, really wild. And sometimes, when you reward getting the number 1 pick, you're rewarding these players with that big contract, and that's about it, because the team they're going to is a struggle bus for the beginning.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know for a fact leading up to the draft, Bucky Brooks used to say that Trevor Lawrence is Justin Herbert plus as a
Yeah.
comparison. Like he's Justin Herbert plus, like the football acumen already, like kind of knows, and he has. And I do agree that Lawrence probably throws on the run better than Herbert does, but Herbert has a stronger like power arm, so that's kind of where the two mix. I mean, I know you brought up Lawrence. Lawrence had a play yesterday. He got blitzed immediately, like pressure in the backfield. The left guard held, but they were already in it.
Yeah.
He stepped up, rolled out to the left, throw like body completely turned, flicked his wrist 45 downfield. The only difference is he's not throwing to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams for that. So it's a yard overthrown to Marvin Jones, who's just too slow to catch up to that right there. Because I mean, he's putting it where it's supposed to go.
It right there.
So I mean, that's the difference on stuff like that. But Herbert has it was a perfect situation, like we talked about for Herbert. I mean, Telesco, man, still got to give this man credit. Derwin James, Bosa, like he's got everybody there. It was just a perfect situation for Herbert to go in. And it's funny you brought up Tua on that because I didn't even bring him up at all when we were talking about building. The Dolphins actually did the perfect job of getting Waddle for him because Waddle's the perfect receiver.
It's the perfect spot for him.
Yeah,
that's why Waddle's catching 11 passes a game, bro.
Yeah, because Tua does that quick RPO action, and Waddle's like perfect for 2 cuts up field, catch the ball, make 9 yards after the catch because he's too fast. And like, so yeah, Herbert's in the perfect situation. Would you put him as a top 5 quarterback? Because I was trying to think of that when I said it. Obviously you got the 3 GOAT level people: Brady, Rodgers, and Mahomes. Then that's where you get that weird. Oh, Russell Wilson got hurt this year. Like
I don't have Russell Wilson in my top 5 right now. I don't have him in my top 5. Would you put Josh Allen in your top 5?
I would, especially after yesterday. We'll get to that, but yes, he's the whole offense.
I would put Kyler.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think I would put Kyler in my top 5. And I think I would have Josh Allen in my top 5 as well. So I guess Herbert would be. Who else are we missing here?
No, I think it's that because I also like to combine the talent part of it. I know a lot of people's always like Derek Carr, and I'm like, oh, that's more like 12. Like
I think Dak's actually struggling right now, man. Dak's, and that's something we can get into. But
Russell Wilson and Herbert's probably right there at the flip-flop part of it. That's probably what it is.
So I mean, you top 7 quarterback in the
Deshaun Watson's the one that's really the toss-up is whenever he gets back. But.
That's true, man. I completely forgot about at this point Watson. But that's a good question. Yeah, he's right outside right now. He's right outside, but he's still so young. It's incredible, man. And,
I mean, back-to-back years, first and second, 30 touchdowns both years. Crazy.
Yep, it's nuts. And then one more thing about Tom Telesco, man. You know, think about it, bro. When they got Mike Williams, they got him at number 7. That was another year where they shouldn't have been that bad. It was just the Chargers being Chargers, and they had the luxury to take him at number 7, you know, because they already had pieces where they didn't need to. Like, that's a luxury pick that ended up playing out perfect for them. And he got hurt a couple years, and then now he's really hitting his stride when he needed his stride. It all worked out so well for them because they had so many years where they shouldn't have been bad. But this is where you also, a lot of people hate the Chargers owner, but this is where you also have to give credit because they haven't, a lot of organizations, even in college, bro, but in the NFL, you have a couple bad years when you shouldn't. They want to firehouse, clean house, all that stuff. They understood Tom Telesco's a good GM. They stuck with him. They let him keep going with the process, and that's smart. They fired the coach, but sometimes that needs to happen, and it's worked out well for the Chargers. They still have a lot of work to do, but I do think that they are a very exciting team, no doubt about that, and a good team moving forward too.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, they're right there with the Bengals. They need to go all in the offseason. They have a shot this year, but they're just so up and down that they worry me a little bit. But like I said, they need to go all in the offseason as well. Maybe shore up a few positions and get it going because you have the quarterback there on the rookie deal. You got to go for it right there in the next 2 years.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Which brings us to talking about the Chargers. In my opinion, could be one of the best Thursday night games we're going to get in a long, long time. And that's the Chiefs the hottest team in the NFL right now. Maybe if you want to put the Bucs with them as well, against this talented Herbert team that beat the Chiefs earlier on the season when the Chiefs were struggling. But Shawn, the story when they say, the NFL is two completely different seasons. You can be one team in the beginning and one team at the end. That is exactly what the Chiefs are, man. If you might as well burn any type of memory that you have of that team in the beginning. This team is the hottest team in the NFL right now. And the craziest part is they're still not playing up to their potential. Like, I know yesterday the offense looked really good, but you've said this since day one. They always look good against the Raiders. And then the Raiders had to be so fucking stupid that they went and stomped and jumped around there. I mean, like, how dumb can you be, bro? Like, they win the game first. Like, last year, if you remember, they won the game and then Gruden had them take a couple victory laps around. Like, I'm for that because you won the game. Then go do something. Don't do that stuff like a couple years ago when Baker slammed that's disrespectful. When he slammed the flag on the Ohio State logo, that's disrespectful. I wouldn't do all that, but at least they won the game and then he did it, Like, win the game first. That was dumb of them to do it the way that they did it. With all that being said, the Chiefs are a phenomenal team right now, and the offense still isn't clicking the way it should be yet.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. It's funny you brought up that Baker thing. The most goat part of that for Baker is he's gone after that year. He won't have to deal with any repercussions. Right? so that was the best part on that.
So true.
The thing about the Raiders is you do all that stupidity. You play them twice a year. It's like, good job. Like, they haven't dominated you each and every year for the past since Andy's gotten back there. But yeah. I know I brought that up before. These Pete Carroll, even Pete Carroll himself, but these Pete Carroll assistants too. I've never seen someone just refuse to not run cover three. I mean, I don't understand it. And you're doing it against like the best cover three beater quarterback of all time. I mean, he just eats it alive. Anytime a Seattle defense comes out, Mahomes is like, oh, okay, there's Tyreek, and if you cover it on the back end with your one safety, oh yeah, Kelsey's wide open over the middle. Like, it's the easiest reads to make it all, and they still played the same freaking defense on them. Like, will not change it. I don't understand it at all. It makes no sense to me. But they definitely still are going to have to go ahead and do what we've been talking about, which is methodically push it down against the too high safety look. Because I can promise you one thing, the Chargers are going to play too high safety, and Derwin James is going to be all over the place if he plays. He might be out. He might have went on IR, but, I mean, if they had Derwin out there, they'd play too high, and he'd be all over the place. Yep. If not, they're still going to do the same thing. They're going to have to methodically push it down and play a smart game because Herbert's going to be out there and he's going to make the good throws and make the laser-like throws and everything that he needs to make. That Chiefs defense is so legit, though. Mm-hmm. Now that they got Melvin Ingram rushing off along with Frank Clark, and now that Chris Jones can be back at his natural position, it's made all the difference in the world. Even with the safety play that everybody likes to make fun of Sorensen for, he can't be that much of a liability because the pass rush is hitting home, and they got the two corners back covering. That defense is healthy. That defense is maybe top 2 in the league right now, and that's scary for anybody because I trust that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid is going to get it right at some point. Yeah. And even if they're kind of, like fucking around trying to figure out like different little plays that work against that too high cover, if it's playoff time, I have a funny feeling they're going to have the beaters ready for it in these do or die games, and they're just going to shock you because I don't think they're showing their whole cards. I think Andy and them smart enough about it.
But what's even phenomenal about it is, you're right, at some point, they're going to need that offense. But, bro, that might not be till the Super Bowl. I mean, listen, that defense is playing so good. They can win playoff games with the way the offense is playing as long as the defense – because the NFL playoffs is about playing really good defense and getting the plays that you need on offense when you need them. Yeah, you'll see some shootouts in the playoffs here and there sometimes, but usually if you have the better defense – usually you will win that game. I mean, that's what happened in the Super Bowl last year. Like that's what happened in the NFC Championship game. The Bucs had the better defense. They had a couple more stops. That's what happened in the AFC. The Chiefs had a better defense than the Bills. They got a couple more stops. Like, that defense is playing so good that I don't even know if they need the Mahomes that we are all so used to and love so much at this point. I don't know if they need it until maybe when they meet a team like the Bucs or the Packers in the Super Bowl, and then you're going to have to say you got to go toe-to-toe against Brady. You're going to have to show up then. Like, that's how phenomenal this is, and it's all because they were able to make a couple changes. And Chris Jones, if it wasn't for Aaron Donald, he would be the scariest D-line, the D tackle in the game by far. He would be this, but because of Aaron Donald, he's not that. He's right below that. And he's a phenomenal player. And it's changed everything by allowing him to go back into that center there since they brought in Melvin Ingram. Like, that defense looks so good right now, Shawn, that I don't even know how much they need the offense at this point.
Yeah, like I said, well, what they're going against too is if you're thinking about the teams to beat, Buffalo kind of has the secret sauce because they built their team to beat them.
They do.
But Buffalo, the way they struggle, they might not even get to them is the thing. And I think the Chiefs match up perfectly with everyone else. Especially, I know everyone's big on the Patriots now. Here's the thing. Who do you trust to score more on a defensive battle, Mahomes or Mac Jones? Like, it's
I think the Patriots, I think the one team that the Patriots should be worried about is the Chiefs. I think the Patriots have the recipe to beat any other team in the AFC, not the NFC. I think there's a couple teams in the NFC that could beat up on the Patriots. But in the AFC, they don't want to see the Chiefs, bro, because they'll play just as good football. Andy Reid has always been one of the coaches that can get one up on Belichick, and then they have the way better quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, people it shocks me how people keep talking a double high for two. They can't throw on it. They don't know what to do. I mean, they're still winning the game. Y'all do know that. It shocks me that they don't sit there and think that maybe Mahomes and Andy are kind of like, hey, we're going to make the playoffs. We know how to beat this. We ain't going to put that on film until we have to. Like, it makes no sense to me why people are just like, yeah, they have no clue how to stop it. They can't move the ball. Like, all right, you keep saying that. Andy's gonna have a whole 100-page part of the playbook ready for double high beaters, ready to go, and Mahomes will be fine. It'll be okay. It just, like we talked about last week, it shocks me that people just write the Chiefs off like they're just some bad team just because the defense is doing it all. For some reason, they get judged like that they're an offensive team, and that if they're all bad on offense, they can't be a good team. It makes no sense to me. They're top 2 team in the league, right along with Green Bay, in my opinion. So
it's just people don't like to change their perception. They're so used to seeing Mahomes light it up and that offense light it up, that now because they're doing it a different way, they don't like that. They don't like to change their perception when really you need to snap out of it, because the Chiefs right now are the scariest team in the league to me. Let's move on to a team that, unfortunately for you, is not a scary team right now, and that is Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shawn, I'm going to give you the floor here to break it down. Take your time. We wanted to put this in the show. We wanted all the attention. We wanted to hear your thoughts, and then I will give mine. But there's a lot going on, man. What are your thoughts on this situation? And what do you also like your thoughts on what's really going on, and then also your thoughts on moving forward. Do you want to see Urban stick this out, or are you now at the point where you're saying, man, let's just start over with Lawrence and someone else?
Okay, so I'm going to walk through basically the last 2 weeks because that's where this is all started. Last week, kind of Jags fans knew what was going on, and the national media hadn't got into it.
Yeah.
Then the NFL kind of put out a hit piece, and like it went big, so now everyone's all jumped on it. Everyone's piling on. And then obviously they got shut out yesterday, so that made it even bigger. So what happened is, for some reason, the offensive staff and Urban Meyer has been doing this weird thing where they like won't respect James Robinson, which makes no sense. So that's where all this is stemming from. So our offense has been bad. Like the Jags offense has not been able to move the ball, do all this. But James Robinson is clearly the best player. And I mean by a long shot. Like it doesn't take an aficionado or some great scout or anybody that watches a ton of football, you could put somebody that barely watches it all and show James Robinson run and then show Carlos Hyde run, and you'd obviously know that Robinson's a better player. But Robinson was getting benched for fumbling, and then he got benched in the Rams game for a fumble. He's only had 2 fumbles in his career. It was back-to-back weeks. He got benched after fumbling when Aaron Donald ripped the ball out when he had 2 hands on it. It's Aaron freaking Donald, one of the best defensive players to ever play. And Robinson got benched for a quarter, essentially. And I mean, the offense isn't good enough to go that long without your best pass catching back, pass blocking back, and best running back in the game. It took Trevor Lawrence as a rookie coming back over to Urban Meyer and saying, why is James Robinson not in, for him to go back in? That's how long that took. That was the reason. So that started the controversy with the local media. So the local media obviously asked Urban a bunch of questions. Urban then deflects it. I don't micromanage. I don't control who's in the game or not. I don't go hard at my staff, which, I mean, if you're not doing that, it's your job. You're the head coach. It's what you're supposed to do. That sounds stupid. So he basically deflected onto Bevel and the running back coach. Well, what's happened is, and he said that he did, and he came out and specifically said, I don't feel that James got benched for the fumble. They just felt that Hyde had fresher legs. So what happened is Robinson kind of came out and did the pro player thing, which happens in the NFL, NBA, and never happens in college, which Urban is used to. Yeah. And Robinson's like, no, I definitely got benched on an interview.
Good for him.
Called him out. So Urban got the call out, did all this. Now Urban is admitting, okay, I benched him. So you lied, essentially.
Yeah.
Which makes you look bad.
Yeah.
And he's been doing all this. He has the staff meeting, the infamous staff meeting everyone's talking about, which I'm going to go ahead and say, I actually don't mind. I don't mind him coaching his assistant coaches. Yes, that isn't the best way to talk to other people. That's just kind of how it is. I don't mind him going at his coaches, though, because the coaches are who's supposed to teach the players. So I understand where he's coming from on that. My big issue that I have with this whole thing is you've got to be pro player in the NFL to a degree. You can be a hard ass, but you still got to respect your players. You still got to treat them like grown men. You can't sit there and have Marvin Jones and James Robinson, who's probably 2 of your top 10 players, get upset and then have your rookie quarterback be the person that's the most mature in the locker room and be more mature than the coaching staff. You can't have that happen. It's a dysfunctional franchise at that point, which I'm used to seeing as a Jags fan. So that's kind of where we were at on the lead up. That's the big lead up. Urban's just, I mean, today his press conference, I mean, give me a break. The other thing the local media has done a lot, we drafted Andre Sisco in the 3rd round, and we have the worst starting safety in the league, in my opinion, Andrew Wingard. Urban refuses to bench him. He's terrible. He misses tackles, blows assignments, gets penalties all the time, and they won't put this rookie in when we're 2-11. You got to get the rookies some playing time. And they ask Urban, well, when are you going to try to get Sisco in the game, get some playing time? And Urban's like, yeah, I thought he was in the game a lot more. He played 0 snaps.
Oh, man.
So it almost looks like you're not even paying attention to that point. So everyone's
real quick, with the way he looks on the sidelines, it really doesn't look like he's paying attention anyways.
So that's the recap of kind of what's happened the last 2 weeks and why this has exploded to the point of it. So now people are making hit pieces. Obviously, each media member is going at it. It's became a huge story. So going forward is what you were talking about. I just wanted to lay out the story for everybody who didn't know.
Yeah, which is great. That was great detail.
So going forward, last week when it was just, he had a heated meeting with the coaching staff. He may have made a mistake with Robinson. He did say he had a meeting with Robinson. So on the last week part of it, I was like, okay, Urban will be fine. He'll fire some of his staff. Some of his staff will leave. Balky's probably the leaker. That's who I believe it is. I can't source that or confirm it. I fully believe it's Trent Balky that's leaking all this.
Fully believe too.
Because he leaked a bunch of stuff with the 49ers, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't like Urban being there that much either. And I'm pretty sure Balky's out either way. So that's where I'm at on that. So I was thinking, okay, we'll get a new GM in. Urban will kind of fix that. This will be his wake-up call. I've got to be more pro player. I can't do this. I got to get a better offensive staff in. But now this week he keeps basically back-talking and double-talking everything. He sounds awful. The team looks like they quit on him. All this stuff's coming out. I think it might be just time to clean house. And I hate to say that because I did like the Urban hire a lot. I wanted it to work. But here's my point. You can't do this with James Robinson and do all this double talking and look fake because NFL players do not respect that. And we have $70 million to $90 million in cap in the offseason. And if you think any player is going to sign there for any amount of money, because all these teams are going to have money, they're going to choose every other team over you. Yeah. And we can't go another year with the talent level that the Jags have around Trevor Lawrence and waste another year like that. So just on the fact that we need to develop the quarterback and get the talent around him up, I don't think we're going to be able to attract free agents with Urban Meyer the way he's done. So I actually do think it's going to be time to move on from the GM, Urban, the whole staff, get a new one in, build around Trevor because he's the guy, and let it go that way. And as much as I hate to say it, I think that's what's going to have to happen.
Yeah. So first of all, my two biggest issues with the Urban hire was Trent Baalke and Bevel. I hated both of them, and both of those have become correct. Baalke should have never been in that role. He was a snake in San Francisco, and he just, when things go wrong, he starts spitting everything out to get. I fully believe you're right on that, bro.
Yeah, I think never his fault, ever.
No, it's never his fault. Same thing happened with Harbaugh, and it's funny because Harbaugh and Urban don't like each other, but Harbaugh's probably standing there right now saying, "You see what I'm talking about, Urban? You see this crap?" I loved the Urban hire because I thought Urban is such a good coach that he needs to go to a place in the NFL with young players and a young quarterback. And I thought it would work out because of that. But Urban's a liar, bro. He's a big time liar. He was a liar in college and he's a liar in the NFL. And you nailed it on the head. In college, those guys have no choice because all they do is look and see this guy recruits 5-star players. They all get drafted by the NFL and he wins national titles. I can deal with whatever the hell he's saying because I'm just here for a couple years and then I'm out. The NFL, no, they're moving their families to places. They're buying houses. They're literally moving and picking places to play and live their lives. They're not going to do that when there's 31 others that they respect more than him. Because of that, I just think, and because of how important Trevor Lawrence is, it would be different, man, if you guys are like, you still don't know who the quarterback is. We got to get a quarterback. The fact that you have Trevor Lawrence now, there's no joking around. There's no, you know what? Maybe he can turn it around. Maybe he can. And you know what? He really might be able to. Like, he really might if he hired the right people and he was able to take his like ability of freaking out. Like, I don't even know the right word, but the fact that he just can't understand that it's going to take time before you start to win. I think Urban really thought he was going to come in there and win 9 or 10 games. I really thought he thought that because, and he should, he's so confident, but I don't think he had an escape plan in his mind of, okay, if we aren't what I think we can be, how do I go about it a different way? How do I go take it up to then get up? He's used to just being up. He doesn't know how to get it up. He can't handle. We remember the reports in Florida where if they lost a game, he would sleep in his office for a whole week. He wouldn't even go home. He'd get so mad, all this stuff. I mean, the guy's a lunatic if he loses. He's literally a lunatic, and that's good in some cases. It's bad in the others. Trevor Lawrence is I will always go back to Trevor Lawrence here. He is the franchise. He is the centerpiece, the CEO, whatever word you want to use. Because he is now in that building, you can't waste time, bro. Then the best thing you can do is you can go out there and hire a real person that people respect, that we know is an offensive guru that can come in there and not only bring in the talent to help Trevor, but to help Trevor also with what Trevor needs offensively for just himself. That is the most important thing, and I just don't think Urban can provide that, and that's why I'm with you, man. I think he's got to be out.
Yeah, like I said, it's bad when your number one generational quarterback is actually like the most mature person at the mic after games. That's what's scary about it. I mean,
also, it's so good to see that Trevor's still like that's how you know, man. Trevor's legit because a lot of players his age. You have all this chaos going. You might see him take a shot or two or, kind of throw some digs in there or check out. He is still like just CEO type so well with the media that's really good to see.
Yeah, quick 30-second recap of what happened yesterday. Essentially, the game, we ran the ball 8 times for 8 yards. So on top of that, Trevor was 12 of 14. The drive that broke the back down 10-0, Trevor 12 of 14, like I said, moving the ball and everything. Double reverse flea flicker. Trevor hits O'Shaughnessy 30 yards downfield on a dime, drops it right through his hands. Very next play, hits Visca on a perfect crosser right through his hands, tipped, picked. After that, the Titans go and soar. And Trevor, at this point, I believe this fully, he just started trying to play hero ball, and he had 3 bad picks, just chucking the ball. I mean, just trying to. And at this point, I don't blame him either, because the last 4 and 5 weeks, he's been methodical and trying to move the ball small and shortly. But something like that will happen. It'll be a 3rd down or a big 2nd down. A big penalty will happen. We lead the league in false starts. Norwell had 3 holds himself yesterday, and he's our best O lineman. So he's dealing with a bunch of stuff. So I understand him wanting to chuck it. What I love about Trevor is, instead of being like Urban at the press conference, not knowing what to say and talk about and double talking everything, Trevor went through each pick and broke down exactly why he threw the pick, what happened on the pick, and how he's not going to have that coverage fool him in the future, and how that's going to be a change. That's why he's so legit. That's why what we were talking about is true. You have a finite amount of years on a rookie deal where you can contend and build a team around somebody before they have to start carrying. We have to get him the team around him to let him build that confidence and get the schemes down to be able to carry the team on his back like that. He needs all the help he can get, and I don't think any free agents are going to come with Urban like we were talking about. The thing I liked about Urban when we hired him, the thing I loved most about him was I thought he would have an elite staff, because he always did in college. He had the Dan Mullins, the Ryan Days, elite staffs. He didn't hire an elite staff, man. He hired a bunch of NFL retreads. And the thing that worries me is if they do give him another shot to fire the offensive staff and bring a new one in, who's really going to come want to work for him after these reports came out? That's the big issue I have with it. So I do want to spin this real quick to you on this, because you talked about it. We haven't had an offensive guru. One of my biggest complaints being a Jags fan has always been our offense doesn't look like other offenses.
Yeah.
When I watch other offenses, they're creative. They scheme people open. Like they get about 8 or 9 gimme plays that are just wide open from a scheme happening. I never see that in Jacksonville. They went from Del Rio, who was a control freak, Gus Bradley, who was 2-player oriented and just couldn't scheme upright, to Marone, who was another hard ass, and then they went with Urban, who's a culture guy. I want an offensive genius. I don't care if he sucks at time management. I don't care if he doesn't know how to call a timeout. Yeah. I don't care if he leaves his challenge flag in the locker room. I want his offense to come out, though, and scheme right and look like a well-run offense. So I know Jags Twitter, and I'll post some stuff here, so hopefully some of y'all can see it and give me your feedback as well. Jags Twitter's big name is they want Leftwich, because he was a quarterback here. He's been under Arians for years, then he's been with Brady. I have a different one, and I want to see who you say before I say mine, because mine's a little bit out of left field. So who would you hire if Urban was to get fired?
Well, I think Dable's a good place to start. I think that's a good one to look at. I think he's a big part of Josh Allen, man. Josh Allen was someone, and Trevor's way, way more defined than Josh Allen was coming into the NFL. And I really like what Dable's done. So I think Dable's a great place to start. Dude, I'm going to tell you one that I think Doug Peterson.
That's who I want. That's exactly who I'm talking about.
Really?
I actually think that if we were to hire somebody, I think it should be Doug Peterson. So what you said earlier made a lot of sense, because that's how I feel as well. Yeah. We need someone that's respected, that's going to change the culture while also being an offensive guru. That's Doug Peterson to a T.
That's Doug Peterson to a T. But that's why the name came up to me when I was – that's to a T.
But what I was thinking about too is the relationship between head coach and quarterback, especially offensive head coach, is so important. When you look at Andy and Mahomes, they have this synergy between the two of them. They're the same person. Andy, his whole life, has wanted nothing but to chuck the ball downfield, and Mahomes lives to do it. I mean, you see that. You see now like McVay will adapt his, but Shanahan's got that running style. You get these people. So when you look at Doug Peterson, right? He didn't get along well with Carson Wentz, who hated criticism and hated hard coaching. But Wentz gets along perfectly with Reich. Like they make more sense. Who Doug Peterson got along with was Nick Foles. Foles has this like demeanor where he's like kind of like cool, but he's very confident, low key. Trevor has that same personality, but with Carson Wentz talent. So it's a combination of the two he had in Philly. I think is the perfect fit for it. It makes sense to me. I know a lot of Jags fans are going to be like, "Oh, he sucked after the Super Bowl." It's like, well, he won the Super Bowl, and he only had one losing season after that. He kind of got a raw deal in Philly.
First of all, they didn't suck after. Dude, he after that Super Bowl, they were playing with so many injuries every year, and he still got them to the playoffs. And his quarterback was mentally broken. He got them to the playoffs. Dude, I think that is the home run hire for the Jags. I love it.
I would love that. I think he would be the guy. He would be perfect. He'd set everything up. I actually wouldn't mind. I know they've always had Fletcher Cox on the trade block. I know he's older. I think he'd be perfect to have like a leadership D-line tone thing.
Yeah.
You can get one of Peterson's guys on the offense, and Peterson knows how to run an offense. He learned everything from Andy. He's going to know what to do. Like I said, his personality, I feel like with Lawrence, because Lawrence is very academic, but Lawrence is also like, he's not arrogant, but he's very confident. He's a very confident player. Even after he's throwing picks, he's like, I'm going to go out there and throw them again. I'm going to get it. He's confident, and he's not going to get broken by what Peterson's telling him to do, like kind of Wentz did. He can handle that coaching. I feel like their personalities would just mesh together. I don't know.
And also, let's be clear. It wasn't all on that front office had a lot to do with the Carson Wentz stuff. Drafting Jalen Hurts, the way they treated Nick Foles, the statue, a lot of that. It wasn't just because of Peterson. Now, Peterson didn't help it out, but dude, Peterson, man, and also he was great in the press conference. Now he would get into it with some of that Philly media, but that's Philly media. No disrespect to Jacksonville down there. He'd be perfectly fine down there in Jacksonville.
To be honest, I think the media goes harder at Urban Meyer because they're still upset over him with Florida. If anything, Meyer went to he was the one person the media in Jacksonville wouldn't like.
Yep, agreed. And by the way, Peterson, I've been seeing posts of him. He's down there in Florida right now playing golf. I see posts of him all the time playing golf over there. So I think if Shad Khan could just wake the hell up, I think that would be this is gonna sound hyperbolic, but that's a franchise changing hire. It really is, man, because of what you have in place. Now let me be clear here. If you're just bringing in Peterson with no quarterback, it's a whole different story. But because of what you have in place at quarterback and the money you have and everything like that, he instantly comes with a Super Bowl ring, which brings respect. And a lot of people did really like playing for him.
Oh, the Philly players liked him, yeah.
Home run hire. Yep. I love it.
So yeah, we'll be monitoring that situation, obviously, especially since I'm a Jags fan. I know it doesn't appeal to a lot. This is a national story, though. Everybody's talking about it, so it came up. We'll monitor that. Just know if we were to fire Urban, who I'd like. I'd like Peterson. Leftwich would be fine as well. I'm not hating on Byron at all.
I think Leftwich needs some more time. The one thing that worries me about Leftwich, and look, I think first of all, he would be great in Jacksonville because he played there. People loved him, and I think he's a very smart offensive mind. The one thing that worries me though with stuff like that is you have so much talent on that team. It always worries me a little bit when you pluck an offensive coordinator from a team that has the best quarterback to ever play, the best tight end maybe to ever play, 2 amazing receivers, 3 if you count Antonio Brown. It always gives me pause a little bit because they're going from riches to rags. No disrespect to all the people in Jacksonville, but that's literally how it is. How does that mesh? That's the only thing that worries. I think Leftwich will be a great coach one day, head coach one day. It's just that worries me a bit.
Yeah, I see no one talking about this. If we were to hire Leftwich, the first thing like that better happen is Godwin better come with him.
Yeah.
Like it better, like he immediately had better have, okay, this is the receiver. He knows my system. He's going to be your get open guy, your possession guy. And obviously they're going to draft one anyway because we need so much receiver help. But it better be like, all right, Leftwich is here. Godwin's coming with him. I would be a little discouraged if they were to hire Leftwich and Godwin just refused to go there, especially with the amount of money we have to offer. So that would be kind of scary. Because I don't think they're going to have the cap to sign him in Tampa Bay, to be honest, unless Brady keeps restructuring. That's just where we're at. This is going to be a story to monitor, obviously. I mean, if the Jags lose to the Texans next week, it wouldn't shock me if Urban's gone, if I'm being real with you. So that's going to be – they're 3-point favorites right now, and I don't know if I could take the Jags as 3-point favorites over anybody, even though I know the Texans are bad. So it's going to be a story to watch. I'm glad we got to talk about it on here. Like I said, I'll get Jags Twitter rolling in. Hopefully they'll give me some stuff. But Jags Twitter, if you are watching this, if you're a Jags fan, if you're just from the outside, number one, what do you think about the Urban Meyer thing? Number two, who do you think they should hire if they were to fire Urban Meyer? Let's hear your thoughts so we can bring them up on the next show.
No doubt about it. And one other thing I do just want to add on Leftwich, Bruce Arians is older. Leftwich could be looking like maybe this is a spot where I can just end up becoming the head coach there at one point. And I will just say, dude, coaching is so important. And this is just kind of a way for me to throw this in here. Like what Arthur Smith is doing with that, like, let's be real, man, that Falcons team's not very good. I mean, Russell Gage is their best receiver, and Russell Gage is a good receiver, but he's not a number one. Like the offensive line is not good other than Lindstrom. The defense is not good at all. And he has us at 6 wins. And that just makes me feel like, okay, we have a good coach. You know, that's what you want to see when you know there's not that much talent there, but you're playing hard. Even if you guys weren't winning games, like the Lions, man, the Lions, it feels like they're in every single game, but they don't have talent. And that makes me think that maybe they're playing hard for Dan Campbell, or maybe Dan Campbell's a good coach, or maybe both. But whatever it is, something's going well there, even though they're losing. You guys aren't even playing competitive in some of these games, or a lot of these games, and that's the issue. We can move on from there, but that's the one thing that is.
I do gotta give your boy props. That was a hell of a walk-off play to Pitts to seal it. That was a hell of a play call.
Awesome. Love that play call. Love that so much. Awesome. Good stuff. And I want to end it on this here, man. We've been talking for a while here. I want to end it on the Bucs and the Bills. Brady as the MVP frontrunner. Right now, I think it's a no-brainer. I think Rodgers is right there, but what you said on the last show is spot on. Because he missed that game, he's not winning the MVP. It's just not happening. You said that. I give you full credit for it because you're right. That's not happening. But even if he didn't miss that game, I still think Brady's number one right now. I think Rodgers is right behind him, and it would be much closer. But I think Brady's number one for MVP right now. He's having a phenomenal season, and the Bucs, bro, by the way, the Cardinals are down 2 touchdowns right now. The Bucs they have a shot to take that number one seed and have home field through Tampa, in Tampa, where they are so good going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Packers are going to have a little interesting thing with Rodgers' toe coming up to see. I don't know if they're going to play hard.
Talk about I've never seen someone that wants to talk about toes more than that guy. I mean, I've never in my life seen someone that wants to talk about their toes. Maybe he's got a toe fetish. Everyone keeps saying that he just wants to talk about how much pain he is. Maybe the guy just likes talking about toes, and finally he gets a chance to do it because his is hurt. It's ever since he's gotten hurt, he's thrown for like 800 yards and like 7 touchdowns. Like, the toe's not an issue, bro.
He's throwing like godly passes everywhere. It's like, oh, the toe, it's killing me, man. It's killing me. It's like, whoa, he killed it with the fractured toe. Look at that throw. But no, I still have Rodgers ahead of Brady, in my opinion. I think he's just playing better. But like we talked about, he's not getting the MVP. It's going to be Brady. The Buccaneers, though, they're a scary team because it's not only Brady and the defense. Fournette's running really good. He's running like a top 8 back in the league right now. which I'm surprised. That offensive line is insane too. Tristan Wirfs, I mean, does anyone get a pressure on him? Nobody can get past the man on the right side.
Insane.
So they're going to be a scary team. I think they have a shot at that 1 seed based on if Rodgers has the toe issue or not or whatever, whether they can win it. Because the Cardinals are coming back to earth a little bit. They're going to have some tough games coming up because they're going to get all that Seattle has, because Seattle low-key somehow still has a chance, which I counted them out 2 weeks ago. But if they can win against the Cardinals, they have a shot at the end of the year. It's going to be interesting to see who gets that 1 seed, because I believe it's going to come down to those 3 teams. And the Buccaneers are surging at the right time. Josh Allen did everything he could to win that game yesterday.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Josh Allen showed some real guts. He showed some real guts, some real heart. And I never thought he didn't have that or anything. But this was a team, bro, that in the first half, going from last week's game to the first half of the Bills game, that looked broken. Mentally, physically, they looked weak. They looked broken. They looked badly coached. They looked like they didn't want to be out there. They looked terrible. The way they responded, the defense, Josh Allen in particular, was really impressive to me. Now, they didn't get the win, which hurts them bad because they're now sitting at 7-6. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Colts. The Colts beat them. They have a tough road ahead. I mean, their schedule is actually not that hard. They've got the Falcons. They've got the Jets. I think they have the Dolphins, and then I think they have the Patriots. Or maybe not the Dolphins. I know the Patriots is one of us. I know us and the Jets. I think 3 of their 4 games are very winnable other than the Patriots.
I think do they play the Patriots next week? Is it after Christmas Day? I think it's next week.
I think it's next week. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No. Yeah, because the Patriots play the Colts this week on Saturday, so then they must play it after that. But the Bills, I do think they're going to get in. I do think they're going to get into the playoffs, and they could be a dangerous team if they get in. If Josh Allen, but Josh Allen deserves credit, man. He played his heart out. He played that second half was one of the best. He played really well. Just the first half was too bad. They got in too big of a hole.
Yeah, they have no running game whatsoever. They don't even try to run at this point.
First of all, that's the issue. I'm glad I know you don't have a running game, but you cannot not do one carry. One carry. Like, you're not going to win games in the football league like that, in the National Football League.
I actually think it confirms more than anything that the reports coming out that if the Jags hadn't taken ETN, that they were going to take him straight up. Like, that was the big reports that the Jags were not going to get him at the top of the second because Buffalo was going to take him in the first. I think that 1,000% is true. I don't know why they don't like Singletary. Singletary's not bad in my opinion.
Not bad at all.
If anything, they need to upgrade their O-line to give him some better run blocking holes. They're just more of a pass blocking line. But the problem is they're such a pass blocking line, they drop back so many times they just can't hold up for that long. So it's kind of a lose-lose there. But they just started running Josh Allen. I mean, they got to figure out a way to get a little bit of heat off of him.
Yeah.
Because as great as he is, that's asking him to do way too much, especially to beat a Tom Brady Super Bowl defending champ team like Tampa Bay is, as stacked as they are. That was a hell of a game. It was a good game to watch. So I do think the Bills are a little bit of trouble, but like you said, the schedule is going to clear up for them. They're going to have to really hone in and beat the Patriots next time they play. I'm not sure when that game is, to come to think of it now, because I'm pretty sure the Jags play the Patriots after
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, the Jags play the Patriots in 2 weeks, so I don't know when that is, but the Bills are going to have to come prepared for that game, and hopefully it won't be in a windstorm.
Right. That would be something. I agree. And if you look at it right now, so the schedule, right, the playoffs right now, at least, what they're fighting against is they're the 7th seed right now. The good thing for them is the teams that they're really fighting with the Colts is an issue because the Colts have the head-to-head against them. But other than that, it's the Browns, it's the Bengals, it's the Broncos, it's the Steelers, and it's the Ravens and the Chargers. So 4 of those teams are all in one division. So they're going to beat each other up, right? So likely you can probably cross 2 of them off just from beating each other up. You got to worry about the Chargers, but they can get in. Like, they have other things going for them because of some of the things going on. They they're not a team that, like, a lot of people are going to say if they get in, they could be really scary. To me, you're not a scary team if you're that predictable. I don't care how good your quarterback is. If you are that predictable offensively and everybody watching, everybody in the stands, everybody that doesn't even know football knows that you're not running the ball, these defensive coordinators, these defensive players are too good. You're not winning playoff games that way. It's just not happening.
Yeah, they're very matchup specific. Like if they go against the Titans or the Patriots, I see them having issues. They're just too physical for them. But if they were to play like the Chiefs or something like that, like I said, they're built to beat the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs' defense has improved. So I don't know. It's going to be a toss up. I don't know if they make noise either. I think they're going to have to get some O-line improvement and get a run game going for next year because Josh Allen, they're asking him to do way too much. It's just kind of how it is.
Yep, agreed. Great stuff here. And like Shawn said, any comments that you guys have on the Jacksonville situation, on your MVP, on the playoff race, as we really are getting into a tight playoff race as we go down, let us know at Money Down Pod, at Kayvon_sports, at Dumpster Fire Fan. Like us on Twitter. Please give us a 5-star review on any of the podcast platforms. Give us a like on YouTube. Comment. We really appreciate all of those that have been listening, and we appreciate everybody that is new to the show as well, and we hope you join us again. Thank you, guys. Shawn, it was great, and we will talk on Wednesday with some big-time college news. Just keeps rolling in. I don't know if you've seen this, but Spencer Rattler is heading to South Carolina, baby.
A lot of Gamecock fans I know listen to this too, so I'm gonna have to text a few of them, see what they feel about it. Also, we got Dan landing at Oregon, a little left field hire, but I kind of like it. We'll talk about it.
And some fascinating things at Oregon too, man, that I really want to discuss. I don't know if you heard this, but Wilcox was offered the job.
Oh, yeah.
And he denied it. Joey Harrington, Oregon quarterback back in the day, and Marcus Mariota wrote a letter to Oregon saying that they're kind of pissed off about how the process has gone. There's some things going at Oregon that's making me wonder, what is really happening there. So, but I do like the hire. I think that they ended up getting a good hire, but it will be interesting to see. We'll break all of this down, as well as Quinn Ewers going to Texas, possibly saving a terrible start to Sark's career. So it's as a coach in Texas. So a lot of things. Obviously, we're hyped up for the college show. We'll talk about that later this week. Please join us. Money Down Pod. I am Kayvon Izami. That is Shawn White. Thank you, and we will talk later this week.